if you're Drake, you've just been called the worst thing anybody could call anybody, a pedophile. Let's be honest. That's the worst thing to be called. It would be better for you to be called a murderer. Listen, I'm not advocating for any type of crime, but you would be more respected if you was a gang member out here dropping bodies than you would be you out here touching kids. Like there's nothing about that people respect or honor. There's no way for that to be spun and okay, it's literally the worst thing. I mean, I can't think of anything. I'd rather be called a thief, an adulterer. I mean, to be honest with you, you listen to rap, people brag about all those things. People talk about, I'm a stick-up kid, and you know what I'm saying? Or I slept with so-and-so's girl, and blah, blah, blah. Like rappers rap about everything terrible. I got a couple bodies, blah, blah. You know what rappers don't rap about? Touching kids. You know what rappers don't rap about? Nobody ever brags about that. Because that's literally the worst thing you can be. Family, what is up? It's Providence. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sure you've heard by now that Drake has levied some pre-action lawsuits, petitions as they were, to gather information. He's gearing up to sue UMG and Spotify, claiming that they were in cahoots to illegally promote the song Not Like Us, which Drake claims is slanderous, calls him a PDF file when he is not. And so Drake is legally standing on business, trying to clear his name, trying to get some financial restitution for Kendrick calling him a PDF file. Drake claims that there were all kinds of bots and payola and underhanded ways in which the song Not Like Us was promoted, and Drake's music was, I guess, suppressed. His diss records were suppressed. And there's also talk of the fact that UMG, who is both the label that Kendrick and Drake is on, used this feud, which supposedly diminished Drake's value because he has been seen as the loser of this battle, to mess with the negotiations that Drake had upcoming with UMG. And so Drake was allegedly looking for, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of 600 million. This is what the internet streets are saying. And UMG used this feud, of which they promoted the song that devalued Drake, to then come back and say, hey, you've been devalued because of this feud, so now we shouldn't have to pay you as much. So Drake ain't having it, and he's getting ready to take some legal action. Now, I will admit, at first glance, at face value, this looks pretty bad for Drake. It looks like Drake lost a battle in the eyes of the public. He mad that Kendrick got a hit song, and so now he's being a sore loser and going after Kendrick Lamar, at least going after Kendrick Lamar indirectly, and crying over the fact that this song is as popular as it is. And had he had won the battle, and if this song wasn't popular, he probably wouldn't be filing this lawsuit, right? Now, I also think there might be some truth to that, because when you think about the fact that, in my opinion, the worst song that Kendrick released wasn't even Not Like Us. The worst song was Meet the Grams. I think, to be honest with you, when it comes to the content on that song, Meet the Grams is far more slanderous, right? Far more in terms of what was said. It painted Drake in a far worse case scenario than Not Like Us. Not Like Us, obviously, it had some lines on there, and it certainly implied certain things. Certified, you know, lover boy, certified pedophile. We know the lines, A minor and all that stuff. Okay, we get it. So it's clearly that song was saying what it was saying. But in my opinion, you go back, you listen to what was said on Meet the Grams, it paled in comparison, in my opinion. So why Drake isn't suing over that song and suing over Not Like Us? Well, Not Like Us is allegedly the song that got botted and promoted and what have you. But if that song wasn't popular, Drake probably wouldn't care. So I think that there is some truth to the fact that this song became what it was. Hence, Drake felt like he needed to deal with the situation. And if he would have won the battle, and I think if things were flipped and Kendrick was the one that was perceived as the loser and the culture was rocking with Drake, I think there's a serious question as to whether or not Drake would have sued over this, right? But the culture rocked with Kendrick. The culture allowed Kendrick to be accused of domestic violence and not have to actually even respond to any of the allegations. They put absolutely no pressure on Kendrick. They put all the pressure on Drake. And there are people who believe what Kendrick has to say. Now, I think most people probably don't believe that Drake has done anything with minors. Most people will give Drake the benefit of the doubt. If there's no evidence, they're not going to believe something like that. But there are a lot of people who believe it, or at least question it, wonder if it's true or not. Now, some of that might just be Drake haters, but not all of those people hated Drake, right? I read online comments of people who say, yeah, man, I used to listen to Drake, and now because of what Kendrick has said, I don't know if I can. Right now, whether or not people will stay like that, or whether or not that was just temporary, or because, you know, the beef was just at its highest point a couple months ago, who knows? But certainly people believed it, and it did damage to Drake. Now, I still think Drake's the guy. I've never been convinced at all that Drake has fallen off. All this talk about how, you know, his songs ain't gonna sell no more, he's done, all that, I don't believe it. I'll need to see Drake get Ja Rule before I actually believe it. I don't think that's gonna happen. As a matter of fact, when you check the streaming data, none of that seems to be holding true. He's still the #1 stream rapper, okay? So the data doesn't back up some sort of falling off from Drake, okay? Now, we don't know how much the future of what his numbers will be when he drops records in the future, but I think that at the end of the day, there is no artist that has entered the rap scene that can replace Drake. Kendrick can't replace Drake, or he would have done so already. See, the thing about Kendrick is that he's not a new artist. Yeah, he supposedly won, even though I don't think he won, but supposedly the internet thinks he won this battle with Drake, and he's supposed to be the #1 rapper in the game right now. The issue with that is Kendrick is not a new artist. We've known what Kendrick has been since at least 2012, and he's always been #2. Because why? In my opinion, he just is not as good as Drake, and he's not an adequate replacement for Drake. Now, Kendrick might not want to be a replacement for Drake, and that's fine. I don't think Kendrick has to try to be Drake. But what I'm saying is Kendrick is running in his own lane. Drake is running in his own lane. I think J. Cole's running in his own lane. I think you need all of the rappers that are like big in the game, Future, all these people, they all do different things. And so hip hop is not going to be as good if we lose any of these guys, because there is no replacement for Drake. There just isn't any. And so I don't see Drake going anywhere. If Kendrick was a replacement for Drake, then I could see Drake's numbers slipping, because everything that Drake is doing, right? The blending of rap and R&B and these different sounds and all that. Like if Kendrick could do all that, then yeah, we don't need to listen to Drake. But the fact is, you're not gonna get rid of Drake because there is no replacement for him. That's my thoughts on that. So I've never believed that Drake is done. I don't think he'll ever be done, because at the end of the day, people want their music. And if you can't replace this guy, you're gonna keep listening to him. But from a hip hop standpoint, it does look weird to sue after you've lost a battle. However, it might not be the hip hop thing to do, but in my opinion, thinking about it, it is the business thing to do. Now, I think people need to remember, Drake operates in two worlds. He's a rapper, he operates in hip hop, but he's also the biggest brand in hip hop. One of the biggest brands in the world, one of the biggest brands in music. And so people need to understand that hip hop might be cool and hip hop might be a culture, but there's lots of things about hip hop that, in my opinion, doesn't capture the breadth and length of what it means to be a human being. Like, to be honest with you, a lot of hip hop's codes, morals, and ways of viewing life, counterproductive. But Drake is not just existing in hip hop, he's existing as a human being who has, in his opinion, or as far as he understands and knows, has been defamed. And so if you're building one of the biggest brands in music, or have spent the last 15 years of your life building one of the biggest brands in music, and now you feel like you've been defamed, and you feel like there are people who should have maybe stayed out of the beef, let things happen organically, that decided to promote the song that defamed you, it's 100% the business decision to do to try to clear your name and get restitution for people meddling in a situation that they shouldn't have been meddling in. So I think that people criticizing Drake, well, you know, Drake hate is at an all-time high. So people were going to criticize him for this move regardless, right? If it was shoe was on the other foot, people probably would have been making excuses for Kendrick, but it is what it is. But at the end of the day, while I recognize that on the face of it, it doesn't look cool, I think that if you're Drake, you've just been called the worst thing anybody could call anybody, a pedophile. Let's be honest. That's the worst thing to be called. It would be better for you to be called a murderer. Listen, I'm not advocating for any type of crime, but you would be more respected if you was a gang member out here dropping bodies than you would be you out here touching kids. Like there's nothing about that people respect or honor. There's no way for that to be spun and okay, it's literally the worst thing. I mean, I can't think of anything. I'd rather be called a thief, an adulterer. I mean, to be honest with you, you listen to rap, people brag about all those things. People talk about, I'm a stick-up kid, and you know what I'm saying? Or I slept with so-and-so's girl, and blah, blah, blah. Like rappers rap about everything terrible. I got a couple bodies, blah, blah. You know what rappers don't rap about? Touching kids. You know what rappers don't rap about? Nobody ever brags about that. Because that's literally the worst thing you can be. And so to call somebody that, like, that's horrible. And I can't blame Drake for going, yeah, man, I'm not rocking with that and I want to sue. Now, people gonna say, well, it's the battle. You can't do that in the context of a battle. And I'm like, why? What about this being a rap battle means that you get to lie on my name and call me the worst thing you could ever call somebody? What? Now because we in a rap battle, you get to lie like that? I mean, here's the thing. Every rap battle is going to have some level of cap, right? Every rap battle is going to have maybe some stretching of the truth, right? There's going to be some hyperbole. We get it. You're in a rap battle. But there's a difference between saying, hey, yo, you a snitch. Okay, that's pretty bad. But like, and by the way, Kendrick ain't proved that either. He called Drake a snitch, ain't proved that, but that's another story. But there's a difference between that and saying, hey, yo, you be out here with these minors. I'm sorry, bro. Like, that's the worst thing you can call somebody. And just because you're in a rap battle don't mean you get to lie and say whatever you want. There's consequences for that. So I think that, see, when it comes to this rap battle stuff, like, there's no rules and regulations to it. And people make up their rules and regulations as they go. But I can't be mad at somebody saying, you know what? I didn't really appreciate being called the worst thing you could ever call somebody. And then having record labels and other media outlets promote it. That ain't cool. So Drake deciding to go after the labels is cool. I think he knew he couldn't go after Kendrick because that would probably be unforgivable in hip hop. But I can go after some of these people who done promoted this situation. Now, does Drake have a case? I don't know. I mean, I guess the whole point of doing these pre-actions is to gather information to see if you really have a case. But we're gonna find out. I mean, I think the first thing that I would ask if I was a judge or whoever else looking at this case is, why not sue Kendrick Lamar? I mean, if you're angry at the people who promoted the song, why are you not angry enough to sue the person who actually made the song? Now, I don't know if that's gonna hurt him, but that would be a question I would have. So I don't know if he has much of a case. I'm not a legal expert, but I can't blame a guy for wanting to clear his name, especially if you think that, you know, you've been called something that's just done some irreparable damage to your image. This also could be huge for the culture in terms of how record labels, exposing how record labels treat their artists. So there's a lot of things that can come from this. Either way, we shall see where it goes. It's been Providence. Thank you guys for listening. See you guys in the next video.